Hello. Um, so Half Bad, A Lado Oscuro is the story of Nathan, and we follow his life through his birth in the first book. We go back to learn all about him, about his upbringing, about his family, up to his 17th birthday. That's in the first book of this trilogy. And he's also learning about himself because he's been brought up by white witches, and he's half white witch and half black witch. The black witches and white witches are enemies, and he's always been told the black witches are evil, but he's never actually met them. His father's the most evil of the black witches, and he's never met him. So the first story, the first book, develops this curiousness Nathan has, and he begins to question all he's ever been told about witches. And he's kept in a cage, he's persecuted by the white witches, so he wants to escape. And finally, he escapes. I'm telling you what's going to happen. I don't like to give spoilers, but he escapes and he meets some black witches, and he's surprised. Some of them are horrible, but some of them aren't so bad. And over the 3 books, Nathan learns more and realizes about himself that this label of white witch and black witch is just a label, and actually he's a person inside just like everyone else, and everyone's different. And I think the key thing is, if the witches just thought of themselves as witches and not white witches and black witches, then the world would be much better for them. I did conceive the story as a trilogy, but it changed hugely as I wrote it. I think I write very much as I go along. I see something works, and I see the character develop, and I have to follow that character and maybe guide them in a direction I want to go. I knew always what the final scene was going to be of the trilogy, so I knew where I was heading. But how I got there was quite different to how I imagined it at the beginning. But I always knew it was going to be a story about Nathan, that each book would be a different aspect of his battle, really, and his fight to discover his own life. It was a lot of fun to write, yes, and I certainly, when I was writing A Lado Oscuro, the first book, I was obsessed with Nathan. I was thinking about his life all the time. I'd be doing other jobs, driving places, ironing, cooking, and I'd all the time be thinking about Nathan, what Nathan would do. I used to go to the gym in the morning, and on the running machine, I'd be imagining I was Nathan running. I'm not very good at running. He's very good at running. But I just spent a lot of time in his head. The story became more complicated, of course, and as you're writing a trilogy, it becomes more difficult. You've got so many characters. I like lots of characters in my books, but you have to develop each character as well. So it was a challenge for me, but I loved every second of it. It's been a fantastic, love of my life, really. Nathan's been a huge part of my life, and it's been great to share him in his story with people all over the world. I think the biggest surprise really was the character of Gabriel, because I didn't plan him as a character. He appears about 3/4 of the way through the first book, A Lado Oscuro, and I was stuck. I was struggling with the plot, and I knew I needed a new character, and Nathan had escaped the cage and he had to go to find this witch who was going to help him. But I had to make it a bit more complicated, so I had to introduce a new character. And a few weeks, the first time it had ever happened to me, I was stuck with my writing, and I didn't know what to do. And so then I just thought, I've wasted enough time. I've just got to write something, anything. And I'm going to introduce a new character, and he's going to be gorgeous to look at. He's going to be absolutely wonderful, mainly for me, to cheer myself up, because I was a bit fed up with the things not working. So I had this image of this handsome man with this beautiful hair and this beautiful accent. And within, I don't know, 20 minutes of writing the scene with Gabriel, I just thought, yes, it's working perfectly. And their relationship took on its own path, really. I have to guide them. I have to make sure they do more or less what I want to do. But they definitely had their own thing. And the main thing was that I fell in love with Gabriel pretty quickly. I think a lot of readers fall in love with Gabriel. But I knew then that Nathan would also fall in love with him. And so it just happened like that. I didn't really plan it, but I just knew that was going to happen. Yes, writing the final book was a mixture of very satisfying, but also very sad, because all my writing has been from Nathan's point of view. So that's all I'd ever written. And it was very emotional when I was writing the end of the story. And yeah, it's been difficult really to say goodbye to them, but they're still part of me. And I think Nathan, he's always will be part of my writing life. I really think of him as a real person. It sounds a bit strange, but he's just so real to me. And I've spent a lot of time in his head. He's in my head, I'm in his head. We will always be together to a certain extent. So to all the fans of Al Lado Oscuro, thank you so much for reading the books. Thank you so much for all your messages of good wishes towards Nathan and towards me as well. Thank you again. I hope you enjoy all of my books, and happy reading.